So during normal driving, it's going to use the front wheels more than the back. When you really accelerate hard, it will kick in the rear wheels, but it's mostly a front-wheel drive vehicle for the most part. Now, I mentioned that the seat, I had to get used to it. It was mostly just the pressure here on my thigh. It's a little bit firm there on the front end for some reason, and I couldn't really push the front end down. It doesn't give me that, I can tilt the back, but I couldn't really tilt the front down a little bit. But it became not really a big deal once I got used to sitting in the seat and adjusted it properly. But something that most of the time, I can adjust that out, and this one I couldn't really do that. So the ride quality, now this is a smooth road I'm driving on right now, but the ride quality for a truck is really good. It reminds me a lot of the Honda Ridgeline, where it just rides, it doesn't drive like the ride quality is not like a truck, you're not bouncing around. It's not like a bouncy vehicle or anything like that. It has a very good planted, feel to it. It feels like you're driving a car or an SUV, that kind of stuff. So even with that little bit of acceleration there, it was all front wheels. I didn't accelerate too hard, and it was all the front wheel drive system there. The lane centering system works okay. It doesn't bug you, which is the best thing about it. It doesn't have a sensor in the steering wheel, but as far as driving, if you're just kind of holding the steering wheel gently, just a tiny bit of pressure from your hands, it can sense it. So even though it doesn't have this grip sensor, it can kind of tell you're holding the steering wheel without driving you nuts. Some vehicles, like, you're holding the steering wheel with two hands and it still tells you to put the hands on the steering wheel because you're not moving the steering wheel enough. This one doesn't really have that problem, and it does a decent job of maintaining the lane. It's not very, it's not real rigid on where you stay in the lane. It will kind of allow you to, it doesn't fight with you. Some vehicles that it wants you to stay in a very specific spot in the lane, and if you try to drive outside of that narrow range, then it just kind of fights with you the whole time you're driving. So once again, this one doesn't have that problem either. So yeah, I think it's an enjoyable vehicle to drive. You're able to have some towing capacity. You have some of course bed capacity for picking up stuff, a little bit of back seat room, and it's just a nice little truck. And it's funny because it's small by today's standards, but it's actually not that small, relatively speaking. I mean, it's pretty good size. So I don't think that, I think it's big enough for a lot of people. It's actually, the interior space is not that, it's similar to the Honda Ridgeline, really, as far as the interior space. Now, the cargo space in the back seat is inferior to the Ridgeline, and also the bed size, and it doesn't have the trunk area. So yeah, as far as the usability, I would say me personally, I would prefer the Honda Ridgeline over this one, but I think this one still could be a good option, especially when you're talking about the price. Like this one is like $40,000. So when you start getting into that price range, then there's a lot of other options. But the Maverick starts at such a low price, and I think the lower trims are where the value proposition comes in this vehicle. The more extreme trims, high trims like this, where the price gets really high, it starts to be harder to justify, I would say. But me personally, if I was going to get a Maverick, I would definitely get the lower trims and just kind of take advantage of that lower cost and have a nice little vehicle. It would be excellent truck, I think, for those in the $20,000 range. It would be great. I think that would be a great option because it does have a great ride quality. It's not really that loud, and you don't really hear a lot of noises. You hear a little bit of road noise, a little bit of wind noise. The engine isn't overly loud. it's not really a big deal. Now this has the off-road package with the off-road tires, get more, you know, all-terrain type tires. So you do hear a little bit of road noise. So if you had more of a smoother tire or something like that, it might be less of a deal, you know, big deal. Now, you know, I don't know if you noticed, but it told me to keep my hands on the steering wheel, and because I'm barely touching it, just barely, but if I barely nudge it like that, I'm doing this on purpose so you can see what it does. So you can see the lane centering works pretty good, not overly aggressive, but it works well. And if I just, you know, even just the slightest movement of the steering wheel, it recognizes that I have the hand on the wheel again. So yeah, it's overall, I would say that with the lower trims especially, it is a good option for a lot of people. If you're not, you know, loading it up stacks of plywood and sheetrock, that kind of stuff, then this would be a really good go-getter for, you know, to the store, get some boxes or whatever, zip around, pick up some people, have some passenger space, you know, have a fairly comfortable ride quality without being an overly huge truck. Fuel economy should be better though, to me. Now it does, this one has like 250 horsepower, but still, you know, a truck this size, you know, like I'm getting like 22 miles per gallon. So yeah, it seems a little low. I mean, the Honda Ridgeline is a bigger vehicle, more capable vehicle in a lot of ways, and it gets better fuel economy. You know, it's like 23, 24, so slightly better. So I don't know and understand what the deal is with the fuel economy on this one. Now this is, you know, 250 horsepower is pretty decent. So yeah, it's one of those things where you have to kind of drive it, see if it's right for you. But me personally, I think in those lower trims where you get a truck for $20-some thousand, that's where the value proposition comes in. And you know, of course, if you really like it, you can upgrade from there. But I would definitely at least take one of these for a test drive if you haven't already, because it's pretty impressive actually, in its own way, you know. But anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.